All right, one take. The dream. Look, YouTube were YOLOing it. All right, what's up, YouTube? My name's Sal, and I'm going to be talking to you about the Viper 8 kilohertz. All right, and I'll give you a quick rundown on what 8 kilohertz is. So, standard mouse like this Viper V1 that we've got chilling right here, side by side. The Viper V1 pulls at 1,000 hertz, and that's about what most mice until recently will pull at. And what this means that every second, 1,000 times a second, the PC will basically ask the mouse for information about the position of the mouse, how much it's moved, and whatnot. So it's polling the mouse for data 1,000 times a second. Now, the 8 kilohertz here, he will pull at 8,000 hertz. That is supposed to make it so that in higher frame rate gaming and in higher hertz monitors, the mouse movement will be smoother. Now, I'm going to get right into it. So my reviews are going to be short, sweet, not even a technical review so much as my experience, like how I felt using this thing. Before we get into 8 kilohertz, let's talk about the V1 versus the V2. So the V1 versus the 8 kilohertz. What's different here? So the feet are different, okay? The feet are not the same. This is the black PTFE, and it is much worse. So this thing will glide far better than the original if you have it. Build quality is very similar with the exception of the clicks and the cable. So I'll cover the cable and the clicks later on when I talk about pros and cons. Just letting you guys know that they're basically the same mouse with the exception of the clicks and the cable and the 8 kilohertz. So and I guess the feet. So let's talk about 8 kilohertz. So 8 kilohertz has a pros and cons. I gotta be honest. If I'm being streamer, to you guys, like, I love getting the 1%, like getting that extra precision. Everyone tells me it's not worth it. If that's you, gotta be honest, I couldn't tell. I just couldn't tell. I tried really hard to be able to tell. Okay, so I'm an RTS guy, so this is probably true for MOBAs, for RTS, anything where scroll movement of the camera is static, like the static camera overhead, and boxing. You're doing a lot of mouse boxing. Man, I couldn't tell. I tried so hard to tell. I mean, I wanted to feel like it was snappier, and then I changed it to 1,000 hertz, and it was the same. I would practice off stream in my apartment with the Razer Viper Ultimate, and it felt the same. I couldn't tell. But so I'm gonna get right into the cons of the 8 kilohertz. There are two big cons. Okay, and the con with 8 kilohertz, you can say, like, why don't I just take this free performance? This is free performance, right? Like, what if, even if you can't tell, it's more precise? Well, technically you're correct. It's more precise. But what I did notice in StarCraft 2, which is a very, very CPU intensive game, I noticed a lot of frame dips in the 8 kilohertz. A lot. Like, the 5600X is the first CPU that can actually push StarCraft 2 to 144 FPS all the time, no matter how late game the game goes or how much is what's going on in the game. And I noticed when I was in 8 kilohertz that parts would lag, like parts on a map would lag that wouldn't normally lag with this thing on. I've seen people report like 30% CPU usage. I don't know if that was the same thing. I did not have Task Manager open, but I can tell you for certain that in larger fights, and definitely when I had in like certain areas of the map that had more doodads and stuff, it was lagging. And honestly, if you're asking me for my honest opinion, any amount of performance loss for StarCraft 2 players in the CPU is not going to be worth it, especially for a thing I can't even tell if I can tell. So for me, 8 kilohertz, just not worth. At least like 8 kilohertz as a thing for StarCraft 2 players, and basically any CPU bound game where you don't have tons and tons of frames to spare. Second con, is that the cable is thicker. So if you take a look here, if I make sure that we get in focus. Focus! Okay, so the top one is the old Viper, and the bottom one is the new Viper. Now, that might seem like, to those of you who aren't mouse snobs, okay? That might seem like not a big difference. Guys, it's like going from wired to wireless, except going from wireless to wired again. You know, it sucks. This cable sucks. And the worst part about it is you can't paracord this cable. You need it for 8 kilohertz. Like, it can take more data, like it can take more data throughput without, without burning out the cable, essentially. At least that's what I've read around, and that's what the Razer reps say and stuff. So you can't just paracord it. So you're kind of stuck. At least for now. I mean, maybe they'll come out with a paracord that's good, that can actually handle it. So, the pros. What are the pros? Obviously, we covered the feet. The feet are just substantially better. Like, I'd say if I had to give a percentage, it's like 1.5x, right? It's like 50% better than these old crappy feet. It glides very well. But the selling feature of this mouse, and the reason that I genuinely recommend it if you have a V1 and you're looking to upgrade, is the clicks. So, the Razer optical V2 switches are phenomenal. They don't sound as tactile, but the pre-travel and post-travel for me is a spam clicking dream. I love this mouse for that. It is actually fantastic. And I ordered a Razer Viper Mini. So my ideal shape is Razer Viper Mini, and my first copy did not have the V2s. So I ordered a second copy hoping I'd get them. I got the batch in between when everyone was sure they didn't have like optical V2s and that they did have optical V2s. So they're improved, but they might not be optical V2s, and I just don't have the heart to bust it open and be sad. So I'm just hoping for a Razer Viper Mini Ultimate. So I did use this mouse for like 2 weeks, and I will say that this is way better than the Razer Viper Ultimate that I had, at least for the clicks. Apparently, you can get the new clicks in newer Razer Viper Ultimates, but again, like I ordered a Razer Viper Mini from Razer, and I'm not even sure I got V2s. So, telling you to go out and buy a Razer Viper Ultimate in a crapshoot gamble for you to get the switches that are in this mouse guaranteed, I can't do that to you. So I will say that if you have $100 Canadian, I think this is $100 Canadian, to like, and you're looking to upgrade, this is a good choice. I hate the cable, but the clicks, in my opinion, if you're doing a lot of spam clicking like you do in RTS, it's just worth it. 8 kilohertz isn't worth it. I would not buy this mouse for 8 kilohertz. I would just not buy this mouse for 8 kilohertz. I want so badly to have some sort of advantage, or like just some sort of perceived smoothness, like even if it's just for an enjoyability. Like I have a good mechanical keyboard on my desk and stuff, but from an enjoyment perspective, I didn't notice. And you're losing the cable, and you're losing performance, and I can't tell you to trade those things off. So this is a go for me if you have the Viper 1 and you really like it, and you want all of the upgrades that they've put into the newer Vipers, and you want the guaranteed clicks, go for it. You'll have to deal with the cable, which sucks, but the feet are better, so maybe the trade-off is there, The feet are better, and the cable is worse. So, yeah, maybe it glides a little bit better. I don't know. But, yeah, those are my thoughts. I'm excited for 8 kilohertz to be something that people like are really interested in, but I don't see me using it. Like, I'm not, StarCraft can't even hit those frame rates that you would need, and that I don't have a monitor with the refresh rate that you would need. But I just couldn't tell at 144 hertz, man. It sucks to say, but that is what it is. If you're in my camp, then you probably want to miss this one unless you're looking for a direct upgrade from the V1. Yeah. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed this brief discussion review thing. on the Viper 8 kilohertz. And yeah, have fun.